And now, from the Room 111 studios, it's Hacking Engagement with James Sturtevingo.
Well, hey there, listener, and welcome back to the Hacking Engagement podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Today's my first day of school. Wow, first day of school. Where did summer go? So I'm going to do another episode this week that's short, and when I have a short episode, it's just me talking. So I get someone else involved that gets a little drug out. But man, I'm loving this short episode. And I want to tell you something. It's zero tech. Zero. Zilch. Nada. A lot of times when I promote something that has to do with some tech tool or whatever, well, this one does not. You can use, get this, your chalkboard for this, if you have a chalkboard, for this idea. Okay. Here's the problem. There's two ways that I would encourage you to experiment with this. Number one, if you're reviewing material for an assessment. Or number two, you have to assign some rather tedious material for students to master. I mean, they just have to master it. That's just the way it is. Last year when I did my Sturtevingo scavenger hunt, my school-wide scavenger hunt, it was based on a reading that my kids did on the Industrial Revolution, which was not exactly a page-turner. Well, if you have an assignment like that, that's pretty technical, that's pretty detailed, and you're thinking, oh boy, this is going to be really boring for my students, this tool that I'm going to show you, these two tools I'm going to show you are perfect. Enough intro. A great way to engage kids is to just have some fun with content. Accomplish this by mimicking two iconic American board games, Bingo and Battleship. Now, certainly most of your kids have played or at least are familiar with both. I reworked both games for my classroom. Of course, I renamed them Sturtevingo and Battlevant. I encourage you to create your own labels for your version of these activities. Heck, if your name is Mrs. Lopez, you could be Lopezingo or Battlepez. So what I want you to do is just think about how you could take your name and just kind of morph these two games and make it something that belongs to you. Anytime there's material review, Sturtevingo and Battlevant are wonderful, engaging options that can be employed frequently. I use them probably about once a month, if not more. Battlevant is a team game. I'll demonstrate it as a two-team contest, but it could be used with multiple teams. Sturtevingo is every man and woman for themselves. So in this episode, we're going to talk about Battlevant and Sturtevingo, and you have to go over to my show notes so you can see my images, which is the Battlevant game board and the Sturtevingo game board. And you can make these easily and just put them right on your board. Buckle up. You're going to love this episode. Hey, so get this, listener. My publisher contacts me and says, I love the way Hacking Engagement is selling. How about doing 50 more? I was all over it like a cheap suit. So the name of the book is Hacking Engagement Again, 50 Teacher Tools That Will Make Students Love Your Class, and it's going to be available on Amazon's virtual shelves in the late summer of 2017. In the meantime, if you're looking for more teacher empowerment resources, as always, visit hacklearning.org. Now let's get back to the solutions part of the Hacking Engagement podcast. So here's Battlevant. Here's the way you play Battlevant. You divide the class into two teams. You secretly assign students in Team 1 a number from 1 to 20. They don't know what their number is, but you get the seating chart and just give them a number from 1 to 20. This will work with classes up to 30. If you have more than 30 in a class, first of all, I feel for you. And second of all, you're just going to have to expand your number range. But let's say this is a class of 30, and so half the class gets numbers 1 through 20. Now you might be thinking, well, that's 5 extra numbers. Oh, yes, but do you remember playing Battleship when you would guess the wrong number letter combination and the person you're playing against would go, miss, and they'd put a little white pillar in a hole that didn't have a ship in it? Well, we're going to have 5 misses incorporated on each team. So we have 15 numbers we're going to assign from 1 to 20. And then 5 of those numbers are going to be misses. And I like to scatter them out randomly. Like number 3 could be a miss. Number 13 could be a miss. It's up to you. But those are going to be secret. Only you are going to know them. Now, what happens if you have less than 15 students? Well, that's fine. Let's say you have 10 kids on a team. So you assign them 10 numbers. You have 5 misses, and then you have 5 numbers left over. That's where it gets fun, because you can ask the members of the team, hey, who in your class or who on your side would you really not to see sunk? And then they can give that kid, that young person that they think of as so brilliant and so indispensable, extra numbers. You can give them all 5 if you want. They could be like the mothership in Star Wars. But again, the kids don't know their numbers. They don't know their numbers. Only you know the numbers. You're like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, baby. Now, you repeat this same process for Team 2, only you use the numbers 21 through 40, so you have 20 more numbers. Prior to the contest, you project the game board, and you have to go to my show notes to see my game board. You have to do that. It's mandatory. But you can create one. I just created one in a Google Doc and just put it up on my smart board, and then just cross off numbers as I go. Or you can just write the numbers on the board. You can write them on the chalkboard, for crying out loud. Now, as the play progresses, you ask individual students questions about the material that they just went over. If they get it right, they get a selected number from the other team's range of numbers. Team 1 kids, for instance, would guess a number between 21 and 40, and then everyone's going to get surprised to see if someone got sunk or if it was a miss. And then what I do, I have the numbers on the board. If it's a miss, I circle the number. If it's a hit, I put an X through the number so kids don't ask the same numbers twice. If they successfully uncover a student's number, you cheerfully announce that Johnny or Janie has been sunk. Johnny and Janie then must turn their desk to demonstrate their damage status. They may not answer general questions in the game, but here's what I like to do to keep them engaged, to keep them involved. I frequently throw out back from the dead questions that only the sunk people can answer. And this is a way to keep them engaged, but I found that kids get caught up in it pretty fast. And even though they're sunk, they're still seeing if their side can win because they'll reap the rewards. The contest ends when the questions are exhausted or all the kids on one side have been roached or sunk. Now, Sturtevingo is a game that takes a bit more prep, but it's easy to execute. Create at least 25 matching questions. It's better if you create more, because it makes the Sturtevingos hard to achieve, but 25 is fine. I like to create 30. Makes obtaining a Sturtevingo even more challenging. And the first portion of the period, students are working individually or in small groups, matching the concepts with the descriptions. And I give you an example from Indian history on my show notes. I have Karma, Dharma, Khyber Pass, Aryans, Bhagavad Gita, and then some explanations below, and they have to match them up. But there's 30 of them, and it takes quite some time. After kids have answered as many as they can in the allotted time, you hand out a blank Sturtevingo board, and all it is you make a table on Google Docs. You've got 5 rows of boxes and 5 rows down a box. You got 25 boxes, 5 times 5. Students will then populate the board with number letter matches. Encourage kids to place the matches in a random fashion. So in other words, they were working on this matching exercise, maybe with a small group. But once the time is up, then every man and woman's on their own, and they're trying to create the design, their Sturtevingo board design that they're most comfortable with. The matches must be accurate to count in the game. If a student put the letter A with the number 1 when the answer should be C, they could not be awarded the square if 1C is called. Once kids have their game boards arranged, play commences in the following fashion. The teacher asks a question from the list. If a student guesses correctly, I think letter C goes with Mr. 1, Mr. Sturtevant. All the students that have 1C match on their board can place a giant X on that square. You write 1C on the board. Then that brave student that answered the question correctly walks up to the teacher and subtly points to the next question they want asked. And if they have 1C on the board, they're probably going to choose a number-letter combination that's right beside it. I frequently limit the number of times any student can answer to share the wealth. Play continues until a student gets 5 in a row, horizontal, vertical, or catty corner. Unlike regular bingo, however, don't instruct kids to clear the board after the first Sturtevingo. Just keep asking questions and announcing number-letter matches. It's even okay if some kids get 2 Sturtevingos. What's really awesome is when a whole bunch of kids have 4 in a row and they're dying to get this number-letter combination, and it just keeps being elusive. Now, I like to up the intensity with Battlevant and Sturtevingo by rewarding individuals or teams. It could be classroom privileges, a free homework coupon, or any coveted reward you can think of. These are great, easy, fun, zero-tech activities. You gotta try them. So here we are at the What You Can Do Tomorrow section, and it's short and sweet today, baby. All you have to do is go over to my show notes. You will understand everything that was unclear in this episode. Will you please do that for me? JamesAllenSturtevant.com. Hallelujah. The other thing that you need to do is you need to plan in the future when you could use Battlevant or Sturtevingo when you have pretty detailed and sometimes tedious material to assign. And then the last thing is I want you to try to plan whether you could use Battlevant or Sturtevingo to review for an assessment. Hey, these are great low-tech games that you can do on a chalkboard, you can do on your smartboard, but they're really going to add a kick of energy to something that might have been dull in the past. Hey, good luck tomorrow engaging your students.
Show notes for this episode can be found at JamesAllenSturtevant.com. If you enjoy Hacking Engagement, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes.